what you know about purification to save the heart of a nation. Let burn a talking wood, bringing light to a talking world. Natural law, just wisdom and love. Vision truth below as above. Let burn a talking world. Let burn a talking world.
Thank you for joining me on the Affirm Life Daily podcast. As always, please visit the website at affirmlifedaily.com and follow on social at Affirm Life Daily. Today, I have some very special guests. I'm very excited about the topics and the guests. So I'm going to do a brief introduction, and then I'll let them do tell you any additional information, as well as where you can find them and their work. So first, I want to introduce Will Keller. He is an entrepreneur, a content creator from Northern California. He is the founder of willkeller.com. Check out that website. Phenomenal website. Great information. A founder of willkeller.com, a platform for hosting his educational material on the fundamental dynamics of freedom, conscious parenting, and morality. My other guest is Logan Hart. He is also an entrepreneur and content creator from Central Texas. He is the founder of thewizardfactory.com. Another highly recommended website. I'm telling you, if you go to these websites, you're going to love the websites. You're going to love the content. That website is focused on a spiritual philosophy platform focused on personal empowerment, evolution, and freedom. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello.
It's a pleasure.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks for having us on.
Yes. I'm really excited about this. I named this podcast The Hydrogen Revolution because I am so interested in this topic. And of course, always health and wellness. It goes hand in hand with natural law. So I'm super excited about everything we're going to be discussing. I'm going to just do a quick screen share. And you guys, if tell them, please, each of you tell them again, different platforms that you're on or anything that you want them to know about the work that you do or where to find you or how to get more involved with what you're doing.
Go for it, Logan.
You covered the basics pretty well there. There's the other platform, Logan Makes Noise, page, I guess, where I'll be posting more like music and funny like voice impressions and stuff like that. So anybody interested in that can check that out. Or just follow my my personal pages like Facebook.
Yeah, and for me, I kind of went with the self-titled website, willkeller.com, where it's like a central hub. People can get to the One Great Work. They could get to Ostara Hydrogen. They can get to Freedom Under Natural Law Conference, interviews, presentations. So that's like a one-stop shop. And I try to post on as many social media platforms as I can manage. That can be tricky nowadays, but all the links are on that website.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I am in trouble on both TikTok and Instagram. So getting pretty heavily shadow banned right now. I keep getting my hand slapped for my posts. So yeah, natural law is extremely unpopular for the machine, for the matrix. So but that's okay. We're going to keep spreading the word every way that we can. So, all right, gentlemen, let's get into it. All right. Let's see here. So our first question, what are the missing components for understanding natural law?
Great question. So I mean, when we were talking about this question, it was the concept and understanding of animism. And it's something that both Logan and I have talked about extensively in our work individually. It kind of brought us together, another relatable topic that we both share. And we've had many conversations on this. And this absolutely is a category for people that are interested in going deeper into natural law or really just life in general and themselves. Yeah. This is a category that needs to be looked at and understood. So definitely, it's got a lot of baggage and a lot of mentally perceived ideas on what animism is, and I think we're going to talk about that today and kind of demystify it and shed some light on it, and also, you know, bring it down to the human level where people can relate to it.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. To make it relatable makes all the difference.
And practical.
Yes, and practical, and practical. So let's get into it. So first, let's give some definitions. I love to define terms so that we're all on the same page, because some people think of a term a certain way, someone else a different way. So let's get some definitions for both animism and integration, and then we can, you know, kind of dive into, you know, why they're so important to natural law and why you think they're missing.
Cool. I'll do animism. And animism, the etymology, meaning the origin, it's Latin, and the first part is ane, which means breath, and anima means breath, soul, and life. And even within that, there's many cultures and traditions that have related that to spirit and relationship even. So animism simply is a worldview or a perception that everything in reality on this planet, in nature, is interconnected and alive. And it's not about being a belief system. It's about understanding that there is always relationship involved. It's inherent to existence. And we can understand the conditions of that relationship. But at its root, animism is a worldview, a default worldview as well.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I agree.
So to me, animism and paganism go hand in hand, because animism is the mindset, paganism is the application. So all civilizations of any kind were animistic before mainstream, like world religions, especially Abrahamic religions, came along and kind of obliterated them. And this was despite any like interconnection between these societies, because just like Will said, this is the natural or default mindset or way of being, when not clouded by any sort of religious dogma. And it's simply a more pure and open understanding of who we are and our place in the universe, in nature, understanding that we're a part of it and it's a part of us. And so it's like an ecology. Spiritual ecology is another word that I like to describe, because it's this constant flow of energy and resources and input output, like a computer program. So when we talk about natural law, that's more of a naturalistic way of looking at that. Of, you know, we say cause and effect, but everything is a cause and effect, ongoing, and like the interplay of all those. It's not just a singular cause, a singular effect. That's not how the universe works. It's this constant cascade and like soup of events that are all influencing each other. And then we have the ability as conscious beings to recognize what's happening, to recognize patterns, and also our ability and even responsibility to have the influence, but also to be a force of good. So you need moral judgment to determine, how can I influence my environment and my community, any of these things, in a positive and moral way.
Yes, no, I agree. And when I think of animism, one word that always pops in my mind is reverence, because I think we have lost our sense of reverence, and we put that hierarchy into everything. That's like nature. And so we think of ourselves as above the rest of nature. Oh, you know, I don't have to worry about that because that's down there on the totem pole, and I'm up here. You know, so when we don't approach all of nature with that sense of reverence and that deep respect and that understanding of connection, knowing that, you know, we're all one from the same source. Yeah, it's kind of like that foundation of us, and so with your spiritual journey, you really kind of have to start to embrace that in order for that journey to really flow to the next level.
Well said. Yeah, both you guys. So I always like to mention some of the misconceptions that the majority of people, when they hear the word animism, even if they don't consider themselves religious, there's religious programming that has just by osmosis has been acquired just living in the modern age, right? So they hear animism and immediately they think of primitive people, you know, indigenous comes to mind. And yes, that is accurate, but this is not about animism it's universal truth. So it's not about the past, present, or the future, right? It is a mindset and it's very proactive in the here and now. So it's not about going to the past. The only thing about the past that it has in common is that we need to remember who we are. We need to remember to get back down to what it means to be human and how we relate with nature, that there is no separateness. And animism is that default mindset. So I've said many times, a great example of this is children. Children come into the world. When we say default mindset, this is kind of what we mean, because children, they're very animistic very early on. They talk to the plants, to the trees. They can see the energy and the living expression all around them, right? Yes. Even in their homes. And we can learn a lot from children in that mindset. So people that even are resistant to what animism is, right? They talk about vibes. Oh, this person gives me a good or bad vibe. They talk to their animals. They go to their favorite park or river, and it has an effect energetically to them. They talk to their plants in their garden. All of that is animism to the core, right there. So their own car, their room, their home, everything, even inanimate objects have an extension of an energetic field that gives them characteristics and attributes, right? Yes. And anyone can walk into a space and come to know and develop even a light relationship with someone's home or someone's car or whatever it may be, something that someone builds, or their backyard. So all of this is animism. And it's this is why I consider it, Logan and I consider it, all of us do, a missing component, because it brings us, it's a unifying factor. It brings us back down to what it means to be at our core, to remember that, to have, like you said, Cynthia, reverence, and understand that there is an authority, and that is nature itself. And we are living in this expression. And it's the oldest truth, and we can harmonize with that. Absolutely. And it's very active.
Yeah, I used to think of natural law as kind of the umbrella concept, and in a way it is, but I agree with Will that animism is actually like a layer above that, and then natural law is an extension off of that, because it does encompass everything in a more broader sense. And then the natural law part is more of the interface aspect, because it's like the animism is the understanding that we are part of the all and that all is part of us. And then the natural law part is the interface, the interaction, the cause and effect, that, you know, the back and forth.
Right. So how do we relate and interact with one another under that umbrella of animism? Yes, natural law is our guidelines for that. If we want harmony, if we want freedom. So I agree.
It's also kind of the answer to materialism as well. And I don't just mean what most people think of materialism as, like, oh, you only care about money. True materialism as a mindset just like animism, except it puts all the emphasis on the physical, on the material, and it's a left brain polarization and a solar polarization as well, because the solar correlates to the left brain and the material. The lunar is more the spiritual. And again, animism is, in its very word, speaking to the spirit that exists in all things. So,
Yes.
you know, the material is sort of the hologram, but the spirit is that which is true, even if you remove the facade of this reality field. It is that actual force that binds us all together. It's like the force in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah. Yes, no, I agree. And I'm glad you brought up that material, because, yeah, most people just think of, someone that likes, to buy a lot of stuff and consumerism, but materialism and matter, and thinking that that is separate. Spiritual and matter, two separate things, are not related, are not correlated. I just started reading a book called The Unconscious Universe. I cannot think of the physicist that wrote it, but he talks a lot about that in the book, because it's so hard in that. And even though quantum physics is disproving that, that disconnect that, a lot of physicists believe in, is quantum physics disproving that. But it's very hard when people, are hardcore materialists. It's really hard sometimes to get them to see things in a different way and understand the connection and understand that one source energy underlying everything.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's the seen and the unseen. So the materialists, they are calcified. It's almost, it's like halfway living to not recognize and not listen, and not recognize the unseen. But it's very hypocritical as well, right? Because materialists recognize Wi-Fi and radio signals and vibes, right, and all this kind of stuff. And but yet when it comes to, spiritual laws or, energetic influence, even from a distance, or even the energy of, a storm or something from, of the earth, the mountains, the trees, it's just, it's poppycock to them. They almost giggle off like, and this is where that misconnotation of animism, where it's looked at as just primitive, cave people. Oh, you think the trees are alive and you can communicate with them, or the rivers, or the lakes, etc. So it is pretty much, you're halfway living as a human. Yes. Because to be a human means you are interconnected to that. And not only can you express, but you can also listen. Right. So, and most people can't do that, especially in this day and age where there's so much activity and stimuli. Even meditation kind of has, an incorrect perception for a lot of people, that it's just in the lotus position, in your room, or whatever kind of new agey thing. And sure, that could be meditative. For me, meditation is being in my garden. It's sitting under the big oak tree. It's anywhere where you can calm yourself, calm the chatter, and listen to nature, listen to your environment.
And
right?
Connect to nature. Just reconnect and feel that oneness like running through you. It's so powerful. And like what you were saying too about, a lot of this not wanting to be recognized, in this, by a lot of people in the science community. And I think a lot of that too is related to ego, because they can't explain it in the terms that they're used to explaining everything. They dismiss it instead, because they don't want to seem like they want to feel like they have all the answers. Everything can be explained in the way that they're used to explaining it. So yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with ego as well.
Yeah, animism is heavily, almost, the language of symbolism and pattern recognition is very animistic. Being able to see the symbols and the archetypes and the metaphors in the natural world, within even the artificial world, just all throughout your life, and recognizing those patterns, and then obviously making that choice to interact with those. And, you know, in this day and age where, you know, pattern recognition is being influenced and being diminished and hindered, this is another reason why this missing component can benefit so many people. Once it's demystified and people, you know, understand what it is at its core.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that wholeheartedly, and that demystification. So that's why I was so excited when you brought that up, that you want to talk about this. I'm like, yes, because this demystification needs to really happen. And the way the way both of you are breaking this down, I think, you know, really helps with that process.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned before the show how it somehow can also have this connotation of dark or witchcraft or this kind of thing. And not to say that there can't be animistic elements to something like witchcraft, because a lot of pagan practices are you're working with you know, nature spirits and things like that, but that's not definitive in my view. It's an aspect of it, but it's ancillary to what it truly is. And anyone listening and thinking that, ask yourself, is anything that we've talked about so far sound evil or spooky? You know, it's literally just observing what is. And a lot of Christians, and I grew up Christian, so I'm speaking from experience, but have this idea that it's wrong to worship nature because God is not, you know, God is up here and his creation is down here, and they're separate things. And that's fundamentally opposite of what an animist sees as that, like, God is in nature, and nature is not separate from God. It's they're not two separate things. So it's not wrong to like worship nature. And I mean, you could even get into what do you mean by worship? You know, there's a lot of different ideas around what that word means in that. I mean, lots of rabbit holes to get into, but
which could simply be interchanged with, like what you said, Cynthia, reverence.
Yes, reverence.
So that's what I meant by there's so much religious programming ingrained in people, even the people that think that they don't identify as one of the cultural religions. It's still in there. You have to turn your eye inward, to really inspect oneself and the beliefs that they hold, to pull out those ingrained, program beliefs. So, you know, absolutely. I mean, just as nature is all encompassing, right? There's life, there's death, and the whole liminal, you know, spectrum in between. I mean, that's animism as a worldview recognizes all of that whole space. So,
all the different cycles, those are, you know, we have to embrace the whole thing. You can't just pick and choose the parts that we want. We have to embrace it all.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, animism as kind of a missing component to understand natural law. Anybody that's familiar with natural law, you know, typically understands the Hermetic principles, mentalism, polarity, vibration, rhythm, all of these. Well, if you study those principles and have an understanding of animism, you see it every day. You can recognize the cycles, the polarity, the vibration, the cause and effect, the mental gender. You can see this in your daily life. And what it starts to do, it starts to bind and develop a symbiosis with the worldview of animism. I mean, people that want to get more in tune with nature and they want to be more, you know, a naturalist, animism is there. You are walking that path of animism and you're going further and further. So this is, you know, primarily this is the main reason why, you know, the Abrahamic religions, primarily Catholicism and Christianity, they went on a crusade to destroy the pagan indigenous peoples, because these are the peoples that have the closest connection to nature, and hold the secrets and the understanding of nature. And if you're going to control the planet or a large group of people, you need to sever that. You need to take out the shamans, the seers, the vulvas, all the way down the line. And we can see this all across all cultures, all around the planet. Indigenous peoples, the animists being murdered and genocided. And, we look at some of the indigenous cultures today, and, like mental illness is rarely a thing. And, if something happens in the world, indigenous people will be all right because they're in tune with nature. They understand how to survive even at its harshest temperaments.
Yes.
Right. They're not codependent on anything. They're self-sufficient. Correct. Yes. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Spiritual sovereignty.
To me is, all across the board sovereignty for sure. And that's why they represent a threat to the system, because they show what's possible. To the domesticated slave, it gives an example of what, it's like you put a Chihuahua next to a wolf and you're just like, they came from that. What the hell happened to you guys? You know what I mean? Like that's just generations of.
Yes.
But I would say that animism is like the why. To riff further on what Will was saying, when you look at like the Hermetic principles, this is more of the what. It's the nuts and bolts of like these are these universal laws that apply across the board. And even just taking like the law of correspondence, that can open up into the whole world of symbolism and allegory, like Will mentioned earlier. So that's where animism is the encompassing concept, because it's like, why is it significant that things correspond to each other? Why is it significant that you can gain wisdom by watching a tree blow in the wind? That's what animism answers, is that there is a meaning, there's inherent meaning to the universe. And the materialist, the mechanical universalist doesn't like that. It disagrees. They don't want, it's all just like this empty machine, the universe, and life only means what we decide it means. There's that relativism and that solipsism coming in there. Animism is at odds with that, because that it can only mean that there is inherent meaning to all of this, including why things are the way they are. It's not just random. This is a system. This is a process of becoming, of remembering and awakening. That's why we're here. So that's what it's all for. They're all tools of consciousness. You have to look at that and acknowledge that. If you have the animistic perspective, there's just no denying that.
You're right. There is no denying it.
I guess that's how that ties into the moral aspect of things as well, because the same mentality that I was mentioning of the relativist, the solipsist, they need to believe that morality is just subjective, that we assign good and bad to things, rather than acknowledging that these are fundamental concepts that are not man-made. They exist, and we can, it's funny when these people, they explain why they have their morals, and they use logic and reason to justify and rationalize it, but yet say that there's no basis in truth. It's like, why are you using logic and reason to justify and explain something that you claim is purely subjective and just your opinion? And so again, animism is kind of what you need to put that inherent meaning and purpose to the universe in place, that then is an extension of, or become, the morality is an extension of that there is inherent right and wrong behaviors, essentially.
Absolutely. Built into nature, no way around it. I tell people all the time, you can kick and scream all you want, it won't change the fact that that's the truth. That's just the truth of the realm that we are in, the space that we are in. So that was deep, guys. So I want to transition over to the hydration therapy. So unless there's anything else you all wanted to add about animism.
Are we doing 1 hour? I apologize.
I try to keep it. I said hydrogen therapy. I meant to say. Yeah, I try to keep it around an hour. But if we go over, it's not a big deal at all. So I really want you guys to go in depth about this. Like I said, I'm very curious. I know a little bit about it, enough to know that it sounds extremely promising and what it can offer and do for the body. So I'm like all ears. I'm really ready to learn more about this.
I'm excited to talk about it, but I have to acknowledge we talked about animism, but not the integration part.
Oh, yes. Go ahead. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about integration.
So, to me, what this word is especially in context to this conversation, is a lot of what I see in the spiritual community, the anarchist community, even the natural law community, is a lot of intellectualization and not a lot of integration. So it's like it's all up here in the mental space, but it's not really being brought into the body and into just. It's like when you have a powerful DMT trip or something, they also have what's called an integration period after that, because it's so almost jarring. What you experience is that you can't even process it yet. And so that's kind of alluding to, if it's all up here, you're not really fully processing it in a way that it becomes a part of you, almost like instinctual.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
I'm so glad you brought us back to this, because this is hugely important. I talk about this a lot. I always refer to it as embodiment. You can do it. You can meditate 13 hours a day. If you are not embodying that experience and what you should be gaining from that experience, it doesn't matter how many practices you do, how many books you read, how many podcasts you watch. If you are not embodying these principles, like truly living them out and acting in wisdom, it doesn't matter. They're really not. Like I said, it's just up here.
Exactly.
Yes. And I see a lot of people that talk about things, and you're not even seeing it in their actions. Like, they talk about moral behavior, and they might not be going out and voting and participating in the political system, but yet they're committing natural law transgressions to people in the community. They're they're slandering people. They're, spreading falsities. That is, even if it's not a physical violation, those are violations in my view. Or they're being dishonest or stealing, or, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on. But they like tell themselves that because I know moral truth and I'm out here speaking it and making videos on it, somehow they're immune to like being hypocritical, I guess.
Right.
Because they're not integrated is the point.
Yep.
It's all up here in the mental realm.
I agree. It's about, taking things in and living it. I'm sorry, go ahead, Will.
No, this is great. And I mean, integration, it goes hand in hand with animism, and it's a good topic coming off of animism, because animism is all about personal responsibility. It's like, you incarnated in this life, you're going to interact with people. What's the condition of those relationships? So integration is that process of distilling and applying what you have learned. And sure, that can be phases, that can be daily, that can be huge sections of life. But absolutely, I've seen this in the spiritual, in quote unquote truth freedom communities. There's a lack of integration. I call it old habits wrapped anew, meaning they're doing the same stuff that they've always been doing. They have different rhetoric that's wrapped around it.
Yeah.
They're saying different things, but they're still doing the immoral actions or the unethical actions. And all of that's easily exposed by pattern recognition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Patterns speak volumes within actions, and that can be observed. So, and that's how you really get to know someone. You really get to know someone by spending actual time with them to
Mm-hmm.
see their habits, to see their behaviors, right? And that's how you can come to know something. Just as you can come to know the seasons, the stream in your backyard, your local, flowers and herbs that grow along, the path in the back of your house, or whatever it may be. You can come to know that. You can come to know people on a deep level, even if you don't see them. I mean, it can be online, right? When
Right.
we're online, we're still performing actions. We're on a live stream right now. People can see us.
Right.
So it's that responsibility and accountability, and especially with the artificial realm of the internet, which is almost like, it's like an artificial ether field, that it even promotes more of a lack of accountability and responsibility, because people just say whatever they
Yeah.
want to say. And most of the time they wouldn't say that face to face. They wouldn't say that in the natural world with people around, or they wouldn't act a certain way. So
Yes.
it's reinforcing bad habits.
Yes.
And every time someone comes into a deep body of information, there has to be a period of integration, and that takes time.
Mm-hmm.
And not only
shadow
just
work, really.
thinking about it. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a full-blown process of, sure, you could think about it deeply and journal, but it needs to become, you need to become it. And the only way you're going to do that is in practice. So if I want to, let's say I drink a lot of soda. I don't drink any soda, but let's say I do. The only way I'm going to stop drinking soda is if I stop drinking it and I wean myself down day by day. So that's putting it in practice, and that's the process of integration. It's multiple things. It's introspection and it's application put together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. I agree.
It's funny. It was just striking me that what's a word or phrase that we use when something is integrated is second nature. When something becomes second nature, then you don't have to think about it anymore. It's like when you first start learning to drive, learning to drive, you're thinking about all the pedals and you're super thinking about all this stuff. But when you've been driving for 10, 20 years, you're not thinking about anything. You're just looking out the window, listening to the radio, and everything's kind of on autopilot because you've integrated that experience to that degree. And so, great point, Will, that animism itself is integration, because when you come out of that indoctrination and you go back towards a mindset of animism, you have to reintegrate yourself into nature. You realize, oh, I'm part of it. I'm not this separate thing. Or like you were saying, Cynthia, that, I'm above nature and nature's down here. No, you put your ego aside and you come back into a place of cohesion there. And, even this idea of like shadow work is another big thing, where there's lots of people that are constantly talking about shadow work this, shadow work that. And yet you see them projecting on people and lashing out and acting just erratically. And it's like they're not even observing themselves, but they're constantly talking about shadow work. That's a obvious lack of integration right there.
Right. Yeah, no, I see that all the time, unfortunately. And it's not to say, none of us are perfect. We're all still working on things. But as you are integrating more and more, and you're taking that process seriously, you're taking it to heart, and you're willing to admit to yourself areas where you still need to do work. And when new things pop up, you're like, oh, wait, I'm going to step back and really be honest with myself about myself. You're changing your frequency as you do that. So like you were saying, your second nature is also becomes your frequency. So even though you may dip sometimes and, fall off sometimes and go through things, your main frequency, you're going to rise back to that, because that's just where you are from integrating all of these things, like really embodying it.
Yeah, just like, you could say like dark integration. There's light and dark. When people are born, their whole formative years, adolescence, youth, it's all integrating the programming of immorality and materialism and religious thought, etc. So that process of deprogramming all of that, it is a long path. And if integration is that process of remembering, and animism is a process of remembering, they go hand in hand, remembering our essence, remembering truth, 100%. So yeah, it's a big topic. I love it. I love expanding. And it's a process of discovery. Like, this is why Logan and I talk all the time, just on the phone, and we get into these type of conversations. We're like, we should be recording this, but you're not going to get every single one recorded, but it's always expanding. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Even the natural law principles, right? I mean, there's more principles in reality that we could explore and talk about. I think the ones that most of us, natural law educators and moral educators, for me, this is just the par level. This is just to get humanity out of negative knowledge and back onto the playing field of symbiosis, and just that foundational symbiosis with nature itself. From there, we expand our understanding and we evolve to a more profound and deeper realization of natural law and how we're incorporated with that.
Oh yeah, it gets deep. So yeah, no, I love it. I'm so glad you brought us back to that point. Well, okay. I forgot to come back to that. So yeah, that, because it's so important. It's pivotal. It's pivotal, that integration, that embodiment. All right. So, okay, now we're going to get to talk about the hydrogen therapy and why it's first what it is, and then why it's such a great ally for our health and wellness.
Excellent. Yeah. I mean, anybody that has any kind of, accurate perception of what is going on, we've talked a lot about animism and integration, and both of those contain the somatic, the body, Cynthia, like you said, embodiment. And with the attacks going on chemically, electronically, radionically, there's so many different levels: the land, the air, the water, etc. Taking care of the physical vessel is important. Without the physical vessel, the mind's not going to work properly. The spirit you're not going to be tapped into the signal. You're not going to be at a healthy frequency. Everything works in one system: mind, body, and spirit, right? Energy. So we have to take care of both. Hydrogen therapy, in my opinion, is that optimal factor, and we're going to get into that today. So I think I'll touch on a little bit on hydrogen first, because to understand molecular hydrogen therapy, we need to understand hydrogen. Hydrogen itself is the first element on the periodic table, meaning it's the smallest. It is the most abundant in the universe, comprising of over 90% and comprising about 78% of the biological human body. Every molecule is in some form or fashion derived from a level of hydrogen. So it really is, we're talking about the building block of life, right? The sun is hydrogen, light is high frequency hydrogen, etc. So hydrogen has many forms. It has 4 different types of forms. It can be a hydrogen cation, hydrogen ion, and a hydrogen atom. So molecular hydrogen is 2 hydrogen atoms bonded together in a stable covalent bond, meaning it's not negative or positively charged. It is neutral and it is stable. So bonding together, making it the smallest molecule, right, of the 2 hydrogen atoms. Now, molecular hydrogen has, our body itself actually produces molecular hydrogen in the gut. our gut flora and the gut biome actually produces H2, which is kind of a byproduct of just the gut biome. It's at a very small percentage, but we do produce it and we do exhale it, and it does come out the pores, etc. So what we have learned over the years since the late 1700s, when it was recognized it had potential therapeutic benefit, and it wasn't until, I believe, the 1930s when the Asian countries, primarily Japan, started researching and testing and discovering that it does have profound therapeutic benefits for the body itself. And Logan, if you want to jump in and
sure. And 2007 was a major publication that kind of it was published in I believe it was a natural health type journal, a very prestigious one. So it made a big impact that sort of kicked off this new wave of research. And since then, there's been a ton of information come out. There's over 3,000 studies now for 200 disease models in humans. And it's just growing by the day. And so the science is only continuing to reinforce this discovery, not negate it, that it is proven as a powerful therapy that is universal and foundational. Because rather than attacking one specific disease or being a chemical cure or treatment like pharmaceuticals, it is a natural molecular treatment that can permeate the body completely, because, again, as Will said, it's the smallest molecule. So it can literally go anywhere through any of the barriers, including blood-brain barrier, and deep into the cells like the mitochondria and the DNA. And so it can do deep, deep repair at the cellular level, and it also regulates cells to repair themselves or destroy damaged or old cells as well. So it renews your cellular composition. And the two main things that it does extremely well is anti-inflammatory and selective antioxidant, which is better than just a general antioxidant, something like vitamin C, that just neutralizes all free radicals. This specifically goes after the most harmful ones, because for homeostasis, the body needs actually a certain degree of oxidative stress. So it helps keep that balance while just going after the most harmful ones. And so just these two elements of antioxidant and anti-inflammatory, those go right at the root of virtually all disease.
Oh, wow.
So it's a holistic way of optimizing your health, and there's no downside to it. There's no negative or cell damaging effects at any dose, which is incredible and really unheard of.
Like too much hydrogen.
Yeah, you really can't. Any amount that's in excess is simply released through the breath and the pores.
So which is very rare, actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Most
no
supplements
downside, and all the upside as far as being, it goes right at the root cause of disease and illness.
Yep.
Oh, yep. Wow. This is amazing. Really amazing.
It's so natural. The most important thing is kind of understanding the nature of molecular hydrogen gas. It is a gas. And once you understand what it is and what it does in the body, it is limitless to the benefits or the chronic illnesses or the ailments that it can benefit, right? Because it's really the body itself wants to heal and regenerate itself. H2 is the ultimate ally and assistant for your body, mainly because, like Logan said, it's a selective antioxidant. So it's neutralizing the harmful free radicals. It's a cellular modulator and signaler. So it literally can turn off gene expression, the ones that induce oxidative stress and inflammation. So it gives your body the main tool to do what it does best, and that is to heal itself and bring itself back to balance. And it really is remarkable. So there's no saturation limit. There's no cytotoxic effects whatsoever. And yeah, I mean, when I first discovered about H2 was about 13 years ago, and I did it for an autoimmune condition that I was battling at the time. And I saw tremendous benefits. And I was on board from there, and then been following the research ever since. So, you know, there's about 4 main ways to take hydrogen therapy. Number 1, since H2 is a gas, inhalation is by far the most superior, because you can take it at a higher concentration. That would be an inhalation machine. So you have something like a cannula where you can breathe the gas, right? So that's the top of the line modality method. And then there's also, you can infuse or dissolve the gas into water. The H2 does not bind to anything. It does not bind to the water molecules. It's simply separate. It's just in the water itself. Very similar to like a carbonated drink, where you have carbonation and then you have the liquid, whatever it be, juice, soda, whatever. So with hydrogen-rich water, you have the water itself with the gas infused, meaning put into the water, and then you can drink that. And that's another powerful way. In fact, breathing, you get the most benefit. Drinking, you get a lot of benefits. You even get some additional benefits because the water is acting as a carrier, and it's going down the throat into the stomach. So if someone that has, you know, some type of stomach condition or gut condition, the water would be definitely a great aid for that. In conjunction with inhalation. Inhalation is like all encompassing. There's topical administration, meaning this is something that I do. I do it in really a spray bottle, and I can spray on my psoriasis patches that I have, very small patches that I use for the outside of my skin. I can spray it on there. You could use an adapter and infuse H2 into a bathtub and soak in there. That has shown incredible benefits for all types of things, losing weight, wrinkles, skin conditions. It's because H2 can just easily penetrate the skin and the blood-brain barrier, and it goes just right into the body, no problem. And then the 4th way is a saline injection, not common. That's more of like a medical or clinical situation. Okay. So we can look at countries in the East, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, China. They're far ahead in hydrogen therapy than the West. Something interesting happened in the early 2000s in the West, where the beverage industry took the knowledge of H2 from the East and attribute it to alkalinity. And they took that to the West. They created the alkaline water industry, which was over a $5 billion industry. And you can see people drinking alkaline bottles of water and having their alkaline machines. And there has been 0 studies and 0 evidence that changing the alkalinity has any kind of beneficial benefit to the body, right? You drink a 9.5 pH water, it goes into the stomach, hits the stomach, the 2.5 acidic acid, it neutralizes it immediately, right? So every section of the body has its own different pH. So alkaline water is kind of the myth. And when the study in 2007 that Logan was talking about, that was the game changer, because it was definitive evidence that people from the West were showing the Western areas, like, look, it is molecular hydrogen is the therapeutic benefit. There are some ionizer machines. Was probably one of the biggest devices in the quote unquote alkaline market, where it's using electrolysis and it's making a a pH water, but through the electrolysis, it's also making molecular hydrogen at a low level. But people were experiencing some therapeutic benefits because of the H2. So that 2007 study in Nature magazine eradicated that belief that alkalinity had any kind of therapeutic benefit. It was all the H2. Since then, organizations like Molecular Hydrogen Institute have been huge advocates here in the West. It's something like what we call a revolution, or mainly an evolution. Logan and I are tasked to educate the public correctly on what H2 is and what H2 is not. And then also, with the principles that we live with of truth, integrity, and care, we want to give access to the public. And this is something that we have came together on to be solution orientated, and we created Ostara Hydrogen Therapy.
Yes, and I want to definitely talk about that. I want to talk about exactly what you're offering and how do we join this revolution. I know I want to join. You sold me. So
Yeah,
absolutely.
great. So we have what we like to call our AAA mission is awareness, access, and activation. So at the awareness level is the education. So we have a podcast. We're going to be doing more content as outreach to simply get the awareness up about hydrogen, that it's even a thing. Many people have not heard of it, or most people who have probably have just seen these water bottles, right? So, the awareness is just starting,
Yeah.
but we need a lot bigger push, and then also dispelling a lot of the misconceptions and just sort of getting people straight on the correct information, understanding that inhalation is the superior, modality and all of this. But the second A is access, meaning we have offerings of right now we have 3 machines, all at different price points. So anyone at any price can get access and start experiencing the benefits to themselves. So we do have a water bottle, but we went through a very scrutinizing process of finding one that met our criteria of safety and performance. So you can be confident that you're getting the best possible outcome through
Can I
that.
ask you
And
a
then
quick
we have,
question, Logan?
sure.
How do you test that? Because I'm one of those people. I heard, high level benefits. So I ordered a water bottle off of Amazon. But I'm like, how would I know if it's actually working?
Great question.
Well,
Great
yeah,
question.
Unfortunately, most of the ones on Amazon are not good. And
Probably not.
the short answer is third-party testing. So any reputable company, if they're selling especially a water bottle, it's very easy to get third-party testing, and they have certificates. So all of our machines on our website have the certificates that say this is exactly how they tested it. This was the output. It was, so again, performance is are you actually getting the therapeutic level of H2 in the outputs? And then safety is, okay, also, are you pairing that with toxic chemicals and byproducts in the process of the electrolysis? Because the cell, the materials that they use, there's a lot of things that can create, like chlorine in the water, for example, and stuff like this, contaminants. So those are the 2 levels that you're looking for, is output of the hydrogen itself, and then the byproducts that are obviously you want to avoid that. So the water bottle is the entry level. That's for pretty much anyone to be able to get their hands on a machine and start getting hydrogen into their body. And then from there, we have 2 levels of inhalation that are considerably more expensive, but again, they last a lot longer as a unit, and you're getting a much higher concentration. So we kind of say this is a lot more for people that are really in the weeds with some chronic issues, some disease of some kind, and want kind of like to bring out the big guns for battling, what to offset at least their issues in that way.
So with the inhalation machine, like how long typically does something like that last? If you're, how often do you do that type of therapy? Would this be something I do every day? Inhale every day or once a week or?
I do it every day for
Me too.
About 2 or 3 hours a day. And in addition to 2 or 3 of these per day, this is the water bottle here.
Okay.
Once you have a reliable median, a device, right, like the water bottle or the inhalation machine, it's very easy to incorporate, right? You're already drinking water. It's very easy to drink 3, 4 of these a day, right? At least for me, I'm sitting at the computer doing video editing or doing some kind of work on the computer. I got my inhalation machines right there. I throw on the cannula. If you're watching a movie, you're chillaxing at night, very easy to throw on the cannula and breathe. So it's very flexible and versatile. Now, the thing with H2, it's the more you do it and the more of the amount you get in the system, more benefits you see. So it's to hit that therapeutic zone, you'd want to do it for an hour, 3 or 4 times a week. You're going to see benefits. Okay. There's plenty of studies showing that 0.5 milligrams every other day showed huge benefits. So even a small amount of H2, people have seen increased energy, brain fog going down. And then you have someone that is, the stroke victim or the burn victim that is breathing inhalation 24/7, and their recovery time has increased 3-fold. I mean, this is documented. Wow. So, I mean, there's tons of evidence on there. So it's really about getting reliable devices and then incorporating it and having it become habit. Just, incorporating into your daily activity. And that's the best way to do it. And I just go as much as you can, right? As much as you can.
You can get in. Okay.
Absolutely. And then, for people to, or Logan, I'll let you finish. I'm not sure if you were done doing the access, the AAA.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. So the access, the third A is activation. Keyword being active. So activate, to take action. And so we believe that a community approach is the best way to maintain a relationship past the point of purchase, where it's not just, we did the deal and we're done. We want to keep in touch with people and connect them with each other users, so that people can share their experiences. People can find each other that are dealing with similar issues and all of this kind of thing, and really build a community around that. Because in general, I think that's missing in a lot of ways in today's world. And especially when it comes to something like health and doing something consistently, having that connection can really help people be more consistent and accountable and supportive, right, to each other.
Yeah, I like that you brought in that aspect. That's so important. It's easy to forget about that, the power of community, especially when you're going through health problems and stuff like that. And that's so. How is the community connected? Is there a platform that they're on, or a group that you've created that people talk amongst each other?
Currently, we don't have a direct platform because we're still fairly new. We're just kind of trying to build a base of customers, get some reviews coming in and that. And of course, we do have the email. So the email list is kind of what we're building right now, where we can communicate with people, send them updates. We want to keep people up to date on the new coming out science and new discoveries, because this is a very kind of, it's happening. It's not a dormant thing. It's very much ongoing, and that's exciting. And then people can respond to those emails, and but eventually, yes, we want to have more of a platform like maybe school or something like that. Okay. Or Telegram.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
Facebook group as well that we do post studies to, and
Okay.
just things that we're doing. Again, just being kind of new, we're definitely going to build something more generated to our personal community. But there's still a bunch of people in that group that, are interested in hydrogen therapy. So yeah.
Okay.
And then
Well,
real quick, also to kind of answer a question that you said earlier, Cynthia, how do you know it has H2 in there, right? Because H2, it's odorless, it's invisible, right? It's a gas. I mean, you could put the cannula in water and see that there's some type of air or gas coming out. You could see your water bottle bubbling, and Logan is absolutely right. Primary, you want to get it tested. So there's chromatography that people can do. That's kind of expensive. It takes a lot of, heavy scientific equipment. There's also a cheaper version. You can get methylene blue. And there's actually some made specifically for testing molecular hydrogen. It's methylene blue, which methylene blue is actually an oxidizer, right? So it's the opposite of an antioxidant. And with these testers, I think they use a binder, which is colloidal platinum. And you can add drops because it's a bright blue kind of dye. And you can add drops into a cup with the hydrogen enriched water, and the bright blue dye will completely disappear. And you can count those drops, and that will tell you how many milligrams of H2 are in the water. So even the cheap water bottles, you could test it and say, oh yeah, it's got a little bit of H2 in there, but there's other factors like the cell, the electrolysis cell that they're using. What type is it? What's the material? Is it leaching? All that kind of stuff. So you really do want to do kind of third party testing for sure. I would completely stay away from, the Temu, Amazon, those type of websites. There's since especially the water bottles, you're going to see hydrogen therapy. It's going to blow up. It's definitely going to blow up. It is already starting to. It's just at a low awareness. People are at the water bottle level of awareness, which there are great water bottles for sure that'll get you therapeutic doses. But once the awareness gets to inhalation, it's going to be a game changer. But of course, in this day and age, whenever there's any type of opportunity, the scams come along. The low quality, the low budget devices come in, people trying to make a quick buck. So, yeah.
Okay.
But it's also good to mention too, when we talk about molecular hydrogen, I usually say this right in the beginning, clarifying what we are not talking about. This is not hydrogen peroxide therapy. This is not charged water. It's not
Kangen.
it's not Kangen. Ionized water. It's not H3O. It's none of these things. It's simply molecular hydrogen gas. That's simply all it is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I mean some of the common benefits that people see, even our clients have seen a lot of these. Right off the bat, it's usually better sleep, clearer skin, enhanced energy levels, clarity, decrease in brain fog, detoxification, faster recovery, boosted immune system,
less aches and pains.
Yes.
Lowered blood pressure. We've had several people, including my aunt. I send her a water bottle. She's been having issues with her blood pressure, and hers are almost down to normalized.
Oh wow!
After just a few weeks.
Is this also safe for pregnant women, hydrogen therapy?
Oh, yeah. Oh, safe across the board.
Yes.
Safe across the board. When my daughter's mother was pregnant with her, she was drinking hydrogen-enriched water. And no lie, we only did one ultrasound. My awareness was growing during that time. We did one ultrasound and then one doctor checkup. And the doctor checked and said that the amniotic fluid was the clearest he has ever seen.
Wow.
Now, could it be contributed to the hydrogen-rich water? Maybe, maybe not. But again, even my daughter, when she was young, she had a birthmark on her cheek that, the allopathic system wanted to run tests on her. And instead, we declined those offers. And I used hydrogen therapy topically on her hemangioma, which is blood vessels on the exterior part of the skin. And she recovered. It's virtually gone now, and she's 12. They said it wouldn't go away until she was in her her early 20s. So it was incredible recovery rate even on that spectrum. We have a really dear friend of ours that battles Lyme disease, saying hydrogen therapy is at the top of the list that benefits or decreases the Lyme effects. Symptoms. We have another friend that's battling kidney failure, and for day one of inhalation, breathing all night, she woke up first time in months having normal blood levels. So the thing about these claims is that you can go to our website, ostarahydrogen.com, and you can go to the resource section. You can see all the studies. They're all in categories, and that's just a small section of them. So if someone is very analytical and likes reading clinical data, knock yourself off. There's plenty of that. So it's proven and it's backed. I give it to my pets. So infants, babies, pregnant women, the elderly, anyone.
Everybody.
I can't wait. I can't wait to place my order. It'll be immediately after this podcast. So I want to open this up to questions as well. Does anyone have any questions or comments on anything that they're hearing? Got a wealth of information resource here. I think we should take advantage.
Peace. How y'all doing?
Hello, Soul.
Hey.
So,
Hello.
what's up, brother?
Everything's all right, man. I just told Cynthia earlier today when I saw the flyer that I just met you, Will. So peace
That's right.
to you. Peace to Brother Logan. What's happening, bro?
Appreciate you.
I've been
Man,
enjoying your videos, man. I've been watching your videos lately.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
The ones with me and my wife together, or me?
Yes.
Okay,
you
nice.
and your wife. I've seen a handful of them, and yep, it's you and your wife are in them.
So
They're a phenomenal team. I swear they are.
Thank you. We're also really good friends with Cynthia too, so she's biased. No, I'm kidding.
And he's been on the podcast a few times, but no, I'm not biased because you guys are a phenomenal team.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop rambling here. First of all, I wanted to say that I really appreciate that you guys brought up and acknowledged how, as far as integration comes with, let's say, assimilating into one's behavior, the natural law principles and the spiritual sciences, that that you guys acknowledge we have been integrating something. It just ain't the right thing. Because I think that point is just so very missed in a lot of the discussions, presentations, etc., revolving around how we can use our behavior to change our world. I think that we don't acknowledge the programming in very elegant ways. Like, we may say negative things about it, but we don't acknowledge that every day we're integrating these inverted principles, right? And we need to start integrating to counteract that, the straight up principles, if you will. So I really appreciate
absolutely.
that. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that is the nature of a human being, right? We're integrating inevitably. So there's always integration, and I mean, some type of programming going on. It's just, what's the condition? What's the context? So it's what is being integrated and what is being programmed and how.
Absolutely. And then I also wanted to say, I don't know if you guys have heard of or have watched or / listened to the telepathy tapes. It's a 10-episode podcast on YouTube, put on by this lady, Kai Dickens. And the telepathy tapes are phenomenal, but they put this on display. as far as animism, how you guys broke down the, let's say, the constant communication or constant ignorance thereof when it comes to nature and things like crystals, things that you love that are sentimental that may be man-made, and or animals and plants, right? And each other, for that matter, right? It puts on display that we assume non-intelligence of, let's say, flies and bees and fruit flies. We assume non-intelligence of plants. We assume incompetence of people that have what we would call severe autism, right? Non-speaking autism and whatnot. But that's because we look at the behavior of them, and through observing the behaviors, the surface level behaviors, we don't think anything is inside, like God or our creator or the natural force of life, and like the existence of intelligence, right? We don't look beyond the surface and acknowledge that there may be something inside that our five senses just don't pick up. And so I was really glad listening to the breakdown of animism, which I've never used that term before or even knew what it was before today. But I was like, wow, this aligns perfectly with some of the episodes of the telepathy tapes where they talk about experiences with various things, elephants, like I said, flies and bees and all of these things that we assume non-intelligence for. So I just wanted to acknowledge those two things. And then, of course, as a healer, acknowledge the last section about the hydrogen therapy, which I also haven't heard of until today. So, but I appreciate you.
Can you send me a link to the telepathy?
Of course.
Talking about? I would love to see that. And also in June last month, like towards the end of last month, I posted a video that's really good from YouTube about animism. If you want to check that out, it's a really good video.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. But I appreciate you, fellas.
Appreciate you, and those are great points. I'm not familiar with the telepathy tapes. I'll have to check that out. But you brought up something that sparked within me in our ancestry across all cultures, right? I mean, and this is something that religion has done as well. They've taken things as literal. You talk about gods and goddesses or certain spirits, and at maybe surface level or the ignorant mind might see that as, oh, those peoples think there are trolls or gnomes, in the woods or in the plains, etc. But what those are descriptive elements and attributes of the forces of nature. Even the gods and goddesses are archetypal and metaphors of forces and even characteristics of human beings, right? So, and this goes all the way up from the lower levels all the way to the celestial realms. We can see this, and that's kind of where even the animist mindset is. It's very poetic, and there's a beauty to it. And and that's something that religion tries to kind of negate as well.
Right. And materialism.
Yes.
Yeah. Comes back to that. Yep. Yeah. Like you said, it flows through everything from, like you said, like the fruit fly to the universe as a whole. Like it flows through everything. It's very beautiful when you just, like, sometimes you just step back and think about, like, this is just so amazing. It like takes your breath away when you really look at how beautifully interwoven everything is and how everything relates to everything else. It's very beautiful.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay. Well, this was really mind-blowingly good. Like, I got so much information. I really, like I said, I only knew a few little very high level things about, the hydrogen therapy. Like, now that I understand it a lot better, I mean, it's powerful. This is powerful. Like, And I did add a link also to my resources page under the product section. So you can also find a link there if you want to check out their website or visit their website there. Did either of you have any closing words that you want to say?
Logan, do we have the webinar if someone wants to learn more? If you want to learn more, then for sure, go to the website. You can get to the website through the link that Cynthia is going to post. And in the resources tab, we created that podcast, Healing with Hydrogen. And I believe it's about 8 episodes, and we really cover the basics in those 8 episodes more in depth and in a logical progression for someone to really kind of understand hydrogen and hydrogen therapy. So that's a great place for people to start and to gain more information. And yeah.
Okay.
And as you said, the webinar. If you go to essentials.ostarahydrogen.com or go to the website, it's also under the resources tab and at the footer. So there's plenty of ways. It's actually at the top of the homepage too. So there's plenty of ways that you can get access to that. And that's actually now a bundle. So we have the webinar, which is a video. It's about an hour long. It has some Q&A sections after that if you want. And also there's like an ebook that takes about 15 minutes to read. So those are both great resources to kind of get that bird's eye view a little bit more in depth than what we just covered here on the show. So I would say that would be step number 1. And then from that point on, if you're still just, curious and wanting to dive more into that's where the podcast would be great, because then we got more granular with each kind of idea and really unpack that in individual episodes. So
Okay. Wonderful. I can't wait to check it out and learn more. This was extremely eye-opening and so helpful because we are being bombarded with toxins in every which way. So we need every resource we can to optimize our health and wellness. So I thank you both so much for coming on. This will be published to both YouTube and my website in the next coming days, along with all the relevant links that you will need. Again, thank you all for joining me and watching this podcast. Again, visit me at affirmlifedaily.com and follow on social media at affirmlifedaily. I cannot continue on my journey of truth and freedom and spread the word without your help. Please like, share, subscribe. Also, visit both of their websites. We need your support. We're a community. We're one. So every like matters, every share matters, every time you talk about natural law, every time you get involved yourself in the movement, all of these things matter. We can change this world to whatever we want. We are powerful creators, but we have to do it together. We're in this together. So thank you, gentlemen, so much. And thank you all for joining us, and have a wonderful, wonderful night. Grace, love, and gratitude.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for joining.